The Jimmy Z Show.
All right, yesterday, another freaking story that I heard on the radio and just held my head in my hands, disgusted. And at first I was disgusted, then I became furious. Then I got really angry. Was when I heard that this juror... Now, this was another time when I heard about this story where the juror said that, in her opinion, even though she voted not guilty, she believes that George Zimmmerman got away with murder. Now, for a juror to come out after a verdict and say that, in her opinion, it's the result was the exact opposite of what she really felt or how she voted as a juror, is the height of doucheness. This is awful. This woman has no character. She is said to be the only woman, the only person of color on the jury. There was a jury of 6, all women, 5 white women, and 1 black Hispanic woman. She's, I guess, a cross between black and Hispanic. That's what I read anyway. Not that I care, but a lot of people on the left do. Because they keep saying, well, she's the only person of color. Only person of color. Like white's not a skin color. Could be that some of you disagree with some of my critique here, but here's how I see this interview. First off, it's completely disgusting for her to come out and try to identify with Trayvon Martin's mother and tell her that I believe your son was murdered, but I voted not guilty. That's unbelievable. That is the height of trying to rationalize your guilt. If you believe that George Zimmmerman was a murderer, you should have stood your ground. Anyway, a couple of clips here I want to focus on. Here's Robin, what's her name, in part of the introduction.
She is a 36-year-old mother of 8 and works full-time as a certified nurse's aide.
Okay, here's a woman who has 8 children who are not being raised by their mother. What kind of children are these going to be when they grow up? They're going to be like Trayvon Martin. She's not there for them. She keeps having kids, but she's working full-time. What the hell kind of mother is this? Now, feminists are going to tell you, oh, she has a right to work if she wants to. Choose one or the other. Be a mother or be a full-time worker. But don't have 8 kids. My God, 8 kids. And she's what, 35, 36 years old?
She is a 36-year-old mother of...
36 years old. And she's the mother of 8 children, and she's working full-time. 8 kids not getting the proper attention from mother. How are they going to come out?
For myself, he's guilty because the evidence shows he's guilty.
He's guilty of...
killing Trayvon Martin.
Okay, let me tell you, you stupid broad, let me tell you how it works in a jury. If in your mind the evidence is there that George Zimmmerman murdered Trayvon Martin, then your vote has to be guilty. Your vote must be guilty, and you stick to it, and if necessary, you hang the jury. That's the way it's going to go. You don't back down because other people on the jury are telling you that the evidence is not there. She just said, in her mind, the evidence was there. But then she immediately turns around and says the exact opposite.
But we couldn't prove that intentionally he killed him. And that's the way that the law was read to me.
Okay, so the evidence wasn't there. Hey, stupid broad, it's one or the other. This is so damn destructive to faith in the jury system when a juror comes out and says, well, I believe that Zimmerman murdered Trayvon Martin, but I voted not guilty because why? She never really comes up with a good reason for going against what she believed that Zimmerman was guilty.
Tell us more about the emotion during those 9 hours from the initial vote of murder, second degree, to not guilty.
All right, so this woman, Robin, on Good Morning America has always bothered me. I don't like her. And I realize she went through a very public cancer illness. I don't wish her ill. But this question is asinine. Your emotions in the jury room, your emotions don't count.
Tell us more about the emotion during those 9 hours from the initial vote of murder, second degree, to not guilty.
No, it doesn't matter. Whatever she felt in her heart, whatever way her emotions were pulling her one way or the other, I think this woman has gone completely emotional. She keeps seeing Trayvon Martin's mother on TV whining about everything that Trayvon Martin has been characterized as. And she feels bad for her losing her son as a mother, as another mother, emotionally. She identifies with her emotionally. But Trayvon Martin attacked George Zimmerman. They never once talk about that here. Who's the person who got the broken nose and the blood all over his face? It wasn't Trayvon Martin. It was Zimmerman. Who's the person who had gashes on the back of his head and blood all over the place? It wasn't Trayvon Martin. It was George Zimmerman. They never talk about that in these conversations. It's not about this woman's emotion. Emotion does not count in a jury room. Somebody on Facebook wrote a great comment here about Trayvon Martin's parents. If only his parents had given him as much attention while he was alive as they are now. That is so true. As I've said a couple of times on previous shows, we know that Trayvon Martin was not staying with his mother or his father. After he got suspended from high school a second time, he was sent 200 miles away to stay with his dad's girlfriend. So I believe that Trayvon Martin's mother and father are riddled with guilt. If it wasn't for all this activism that they're involved in now to fill the void, I think that they would be despondent. Here's another stupid question. This stuff comes out of people on television shows all the time. And it's so disingenuous and so agendized.
Did you feel a little, for lack of a better word, bullied in the deliberations?
Bullied. Did you feel bullied? Bullied. I've had a buttload of bullied. Enough with the bullying. Did you feel bullied when you were in the deliberations? What a load of crap. It's all about emotion for this bonehead Robin.
I trust God that I wasn't bullied.
So, no, she wasn't bullied, Robin. And then they talk about how loud she was. And oh boy, I'll bet you she was loud. This kind of person on a jury, I am so glad I wasn't there. She would drive me nuts. I'd end up screaming too. God.
Feel that your voice was heard in that
My voice
room?
was heard. I was the loudest. Yeah.
All right, so here's another idiotic question from Robin. Ignoring everything we know about what happened that night.
What would your reaction have been? Your son going to the store, getting candy and iced tea, going home, altercation happens, and your son is killed?
What would your reaction have been if it was your son who was at a Bible study and who was coming home and skipping and singing Kumbaya? They're not talking about the facts in the case. They're not talking about who Trayvon Martin really was and the kind of person that Trayvon Martin had become. It wasn't the 12-year-old kid with the big smile who turned around and attacked George Zimmerman. It was the 17-year-old thug. It was the kid with the tattoos and the gold grill in his mouth and all the filthy, nasty text messages.
I feel that I was forcibly included in Trayvon Martin's death. I carry him on my back. I'm hurting as much as Trayvon Martin's mom is.
Okay, look, you should have stood up for what you believed in. If you actually believed it, if you believed that the evidence was there, as you've said, you should never have backed down. If I'm on a jury and I believe the evidence is there and that this person is guilty, I don't care if 11 people are yelling at me for 4 weeks straight. I'm going to stick by my belief. I'm going to stand by my understanding of the law, and I'm going to find that person guilty. And if it means there's a hung jury, so be it. Why would you vote not guilty if you truly believed that Trayvon Martin had been murdered by George Zimmmerman, as this woman is saying now? It doesn't make sense.
I'm hurting as much as Trayvon Martin's mom is. Because there's no way that any mother should feel that pain.
Okay, it would be nice if we lived in a world where no mother could ever feel the pain of having lost a son. But whatever pain Trayvon Martin's mother is going through has nothing whatsoever to do with the verdict. Nothing at all. Zero. Nothing. Nada. This woman has no idea what the jury system is about. It's not about finding someone guilty simply because it might make Trayvon Martin's mother feel better. That has nothing to do with it.
And you said earlier that you are the juror that could have made it a hung jury.
Oh, yes.
Do you have regrets that you didn't?
Kind of.
Well, you should have stood up for what you believe in. But you didn't. Supposedly. Who knows what she was thinking in there? Now, she feels bad for Trayvon's mother, and so she's trying to identify with her.
I want Trayvon's mom to know that I'm hurting. And if she thought that nobody cared about her son, I could speak for myself. I do care. I couldn't do anything about it. And I felt like I let a lot of people down.
Yes, you could have done something about it, but you didn't. You could have voted guilty, but you didn't.
And if I would have used my heart, I probably would have went a hung jury.
Look, your heart has nothing whatsoever to do with this. Zero. It's all about the facts.
And believe it with all my heart, because I do have kids.
You see, this is a huge problem. She's thinking like a mother. Your motherhood has nothing to do with the case. As a juror, you are not a mother. You're not a father. You're not an uncle. You're not anything. You're a juror. You're looking at the facts in the case. Thank God she came up with the right verdict. Thank God she stood up. She made the right choice and somehow doesn't believe now that she did the right thing.
Some people have said George Zimmerman got away with murder. How do you respond to those people who say that?
George Zimmmerman, George Zimmerman got away with murder. But you can't get away from God.
You know, in my opinion, George Zimmerman has no issues with God in this situation. Maybe in his quiet time, he might think whether or not he did the right thing in following Trayvon Martin at the very beginning. Who knows? That's between him and God. But as far as shooting in self-defense, he has no issue with God. He's not guilty. He defended himself justifiably.
What would you like to say to Trayvon's parents?
I would like to apologize because I feel like I let him down. We just couldn't prove anything.
You know, if you couldn't prove anything, then that means not guilty is the correct verdict. It's that simple. Please. The reason George Zimmerman was found not guilty is because there was no case There was no evidence to prove otherwise. Zero. Trayvon Martin attacked him. Trayvon Martin was on top of him. Trayvon Martin broke his nose and gashed the back of his head. George Zimmmerman was in fear of losing his life, and he shot to defend himself. He shot to stop Trayvon Martin from attacking him. And there's an article that Chuck sent. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Trayvon Martin's mother, Sabrina Fulton, said it was devastating to hear a juror tell ABC News in an exclusive interview that the jury in the George Zimmerman case thought the former neighborhood watchman was guilty and got away with murder. She didn't say that the jury thought that. She said she thought that. She said that was her thinking after her emotions took over. Let's see, it's a statement she released through the Trayvon Martin Foundation. It is devastating for my family to hear the comments from Juror B29, comments which we already knew in our hearts to be true, that George Zimmerman literally got away with murder. This new information challenges our nation once again to do everything we can to make sure this never happens to another child. Well, I'm sorry, but Sabrina Fulton is wrong. Ted Nugent got it right.
Here's the ultimate lesson. If everyone would take a deep breath, I hear a lot of squawking that parents would go, well, that could have been my kid. It could have been my dead child. Well, here's a little update for you. Teach your children not to attack people. Thank you very much.
And just in case there's a liberal listening, or Al Sharpton is listening, or someone from the black activist groups that are listening and think that Trayvon Martin was murdered by George Zimmerman, once again,
teach your children not to attack people.
All right? It's that simple. She goes on. This new information challenges our nation to once again do everything we can to make sure this never happens to another child. That's why Tracy Martin and I have launched the Trayvon Martin Foundation to try and take something very painful and negative and turn it into something positive as a legacy to our son. At the National Urban League's annual conference today in Philadelphia, Fulton asked people to, quote, wrap your mind around what has happened, meaning that an innocent child was murdered by George Zimmerman. She continued, no prom for Trayvon, no high school graduation for Trayvon, no college for Trayvon, no grandkids coming from Trayvon. All because of a law that has prevented the person who shot and killed my son to be held responsible and to pay for his awful crime. You know what? She's talking about stand your ground, and stand your ground had nothing to do with this. Nothing whatsoever. What she and Al Sharpton and Stevie Wonder and all these ding-dongs are actually talking about is the right to defend yourself. It is stopping people. They want to stop people from defending themselves. Even if the attacker is 17 years old, you have a right to defend yourself. Boy, I'll tell you, this woman, Trayvon Martin's mother, is becoming more and more offensive. And this article at the Washington Times, Trayvon Martin's dad tells lawmakers to name a gun control law after his son. Tracy Martin, the father of killed 17-year-old Trayvon Martin, who was, by the way, when his mother was saying, I was reading the statement or whatever she was saying at the Urban League conference, no prom for Trayvon, no high school graduation for Trayvon, no college for Trayvon. How about this? No gangbanging for Trayvon. No drug dealing for Trayvon. No more criminal activity. No more burglary for Trayvon. Come on. I'm telling you, this mother is driving me crazy. So it says here in this article, his father, Tracy Martin, told legislators during a Wednesday appearance on Capitol Hill that he would like to see his son's name attached to a measure that cracks down on right-to-carry laws. This is a quote, I think 50 years from now, when I'm dead and gone, I would like to see Trayvon Martin's name attached to some type of statute amendment that says you can't simply profile our children, shoot them in the heart, kill them, and say you were defending yourself. You know, these parents of Trayvon Martin are becoming really annoying. Like George Zimmmerman simply profiled this kid. Black boy. Hoodie. Zimmmerman kill. Arr. It's so stupid. It's getting so damn stupid. He was talking to the Congressional Caucus on Black Men and Boys. Mr. Martin also said he would not allow the acquittal of George Zimmmerman of murder charges to sum up who Trayvon Martin was, meaning I'm not going to pay any attention to any of the facts about all the crap my boy was involved in. He'd like to see his son's death lead to reforms in stand-your-ground laws, he said. Other attendees at the gathering, meanwhile, said Black America was reeling from the trial and wanted change. Representative Frederica Wilson said black males are angry. They have a hole in their heart from all kinds of societal issues that impact black boys that I am so familiar with. Well, I would like to suggest that Frederica Wilson make herself familiar with all of the black boys who are dying as a result of black-on-black criminal gang activity. How about that? And until you start caring about that, until you start worrying about the black boys that are dying in Chicago as a result of black-on-black murder, don't come crying to me about George Zimmmerman defending himself.
Wrap your mind around no prom for Trayvon. No high school graduation for Trayvon. No college for Trayvon. No grandkids coming from Trayvon. All because of a law. A law that has prevented the person who shot and killed my son to be held accountable and to pay for this awful crime. What is my message to you? My message to you is, please use my story. Please use my tragedy. Please use my broken heart to say to yourself, we cannot let this happen to anybody else's child.
No drug deals for Trayvon. No gangbanging for Trayvon. No burglary for Trayvon. And I'm sorry. I can't stand it. Once again, Jen on Facebook said, if only his parents had given him as much attention while he was alive as they are giving him now. Things may very well have turned out differently if they had taken the time to parent him instead of sending him up to dad's girlfriend's house 200 miles away. Parents, raise your children.
Teach your children not to attack people.
The Jimmy Z Show.